Good morning, Devils fans. It is 8 o'clock on July 5th, and with the holiday come and gone, I think we might start seeing some moves around the league again. A couple days ago, I talked about wingers that might be on Tom's radar. So today I wanted to focus on the other position he has mentioned wanting to shore up, and that would be goalie. The obvious name, the big one at the top that has been mentioned for weeks now, is Connor Hellebuck over in Winnipeg, currently making 6.166, repeating for one more year. And in my opinion, the only way to really make this happen, given our current salary situation, is with VTech having to go the other way. And even then, I think we probably need a little bit of retention on that. So I know the biggest issue with Hellebuck is the reported number he is looking for in an extension. I've heard anywhere from 9 to 9.5 on a full year, 7-8 year deal, wanting that Vasilevsky money. And I don't see Tom doing that for him. But if Winnipeg was willing to take a rental price of a return, I could see Tom absolutely going after that and going with the plan that he's done with every other piece he has brought in, like Timo and Holla, and what he's doing with the Foley, which is selling a player on New Jersey, taking a little bit less to stay here because of all the amenities that we offer and because of the team going forward being, or now around the league, the recognition it deserves, being cup favorites. So would Hellebuck be willing to take a shorter term, less money deal here and leave money on the table to go cup chasing with us? I'm not quite sure, but deep in my gut, I hope so. It would be pretty great. If he took something like a 3-4 year deal would be perfect. I don't think he does that. 5 might be that sweet spot in the middle where both team and player come together. I would enjoy that for those first 3-4 years. And that 5th year might be where we see a little bit of fall off going into his year, age 36 season, I believe that would be. So it's something we'll see. But as far as the return, like I said, it would be VTech having to go the other way. We're probably still talking a roster player, prospect, and at least a pick, if not multiple, even if it's only a rental. He's just that big of a deal in the goalie world. Been a perennial Vezina candidate. And I think if there was a single goalie that is worth going in for, it would be Hellebuck, because when we go through this list here and talk about other goalies that are available, the pickings are kind of slim now at this point, especially given what some other returns would need to be to acquire them. So I wanted to talk about the other big names that were on the market, and that is both of Boston's goalies. So we have Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark. Swayman is currently a RFA with a deal pending out there, I would assume, from Boston. At this point, after all the cap that they moved out, I think it is likely he re-signs there and they run it back with this duo. However, for us to get him, again, I think this would require a return of possibly VTech, if not a middling roster player and prospect. They are definitely still a little cap strapped, but nowhere near as much. So they don't want too much money coming back their way. They're probably going to want a little bit of futures, but not too many, as they are still Boston and are going to try to compete for a cup year in and year out. So that would then bring us to Ullmark, because I have heard out there that possibly they are looking to re-sign Swayman and keep him and move off of the reigning Vezina champion. So Ullmark has 2 years left at $5 million with a 16-team no-trade clause. Now, in the past, that would have been assumed that we were on there, but given our trajectory, I would take a safe bet that we are not there anymore. But being that he is the reigning Vezina champion, I could see him being quite expensive to acquire, and given what our roster looks like, at $5 million, we probably have to shed VTech in some way, whether he's going in return or moved off in another deal, or make the cap work in another way, because 2 more years at that 5 makes the term pretty ideal for us to kind of shake out what we have going, and especially give Schmidt some time to continue to grow with us. But like I said, I think the cost to get him from Boston might be what deters us from that move. But I'm here for either really one of the Boston goalies, depending on what we need to send back, because for me, if we get one of them while keeping VTech, give Schmidt a little bit more time to cook and run that tandem with the ability to call up Schmidt for those playoffs, or as always, there's going to be injuries throughout the season. I think that would set us up for the shorter term while not needing to commit to a long-term contract like Hellebuck possibly would. So those are really the big names to me. From here, it's a pretty steep drop-off in the availability of players. One name that is definitely being floated out there is Matt Murray, and the other would be John Gibson. So to start with Murray first, it does sound like the Leafs are in desperate need of getting off of this contract, but given what he is currently being paid and the fact that Leafs can basically not take on another dollar, there probably would be, for us to get him, Leafs needing to hold on to some money, or I think that is very unlikely, so needing to bring in a third team to be a retention spot for him. So Murray going to a team like, say, the Ducks, them retaining on him and getting a sweetener in that deal, and then Murray coming to us. Again, the cap is going to be a little tight even in that situation for us. And given the fact that Murray's so-so in my opinion on the whole, and that there's some lingering injury issues as reported by Merrick from his show, that I don't know if that's really worth the risk for us to do so. Like I said, the other name being John Gibson, I think it's too big of a commitment. Too many question marks. Yes, he's handled probably the biggest workload in the league, if not the biggest, the hardest, playing behind that Ducks team, taking just an insane amount of shots against and much less games played than Connor Hellebuck. So that workload it's insane, and his numbers are just not that great. If you want to argue that because of the demoralizing situation that is Anaheim, that he would bounce back on a team that he could be more committed to, I'm here for it if that's the case, but given his term and cap hit, we're contending. We cannot risk a big move on a anchor that John Gibson could be. So in my opinion, the only way I am super interested, unless there's some contract magic Fitz can pull that I'm just not thinking of, it would be John Gibson not only being retained by Anaheim, but possibly a second team coming in and retaining on him as well. When he gets down into that less than $2 million AAV with the term that he still has, that's a bit more worthwhile for us, because then we can bury him, move him on that contract, whatever it may be. The risk becomes much less, and we already know the return is probably not going to be very much for a guy that wants out. Even though the reporting on that being a absolute wanting out is in question, we'll just say it's been pretty clear he would rather play for a different team, but whether or not he actually plays in a Ducks jersey again, we'll have to see. Another name I have seen thrown out there is Logan Thompson. I see no reason why Vegas would move from him on that contract. They play it tight to the cap every single year. We know they're a team that are willing to move guys out to bring guys in that they want. But on that contract that he has, I see no reason for them to move him. And to do so, it would probably cost quite a significant amount of futures and low cap situation, which we're in need of all that stuff as well. So that's really the biggest names out there as far as trades go. As I previously had said when I discussed wingers that we could be looking at, the UFA market is pretty abysmal, and I'll touch on that a bit more by the end of this video. But I was going through all the teams in the league, and I just wanted to see who possibly needs to move off a goalie. So I did hone in on 3 different teams who are currently have 3 goalies under NHL contracts. First would be the Kings with Copley, Rittich, and Talbot, none of which I'm really interested in. All 3 were also just extended, so I don't know if they plan on carrying all 3, or I do not believe any of them are waiver exempt, so we'll see how they kind of plan on navigating that. But even if it was offered for pennies on the dollar, I'm not really sure I'm interested in any of those guys. Buffalo's another one of those teams that probably needs to move a contract. Actually, absolutely needs to move a contract, as they currently have 24 guys signed over the 23 contract maximum. Their 3 guys would be Levi, who is obviously untouchable. I don't see them moving him for anything short of like Jack Hughes at this point. No thanks on Comrie. Looking looks like he could be a decent option. Has decent numbers. 2 seasons ago, last year a little less so. But if we really just wanted a stopgap for injury concerns till Dawes comes back, we can bring Schmidt up, let Vitek run the workload, looking and backing up. Could be a decent option. I don't know exactly what those return numbers would look like. Goalie market, especially this year, and return values are all over the place. I mean, we've seen anything from middling draft picks to high draft picks and roster players on 1-year deals. So it's anyone's guess, really, what a goalie return year to year. And given his numbers and not huge pedigree, I think it could be a fairly decent, cheap option to aim at. And the last team carrying 3 goalies currently is Detroit, with Reimer and Lyon having just signed extensions there, so they are unlikely to be moved. And I have absolutely no interest in Husso. So given all that, there's really not many options. Just to cover it again, the free agencies guys out there, almost all of them that have played even more than just a couple games last season are over 37 years old. Halak, Thomas Grace, Brian Elliott, all over 37, even one of them being 38. And I just don't see that being the route we want to go. At that point, might as well look for a Luukkonen type trade, or even just run Vitek and Schmidt. I will say, if there was one free agent out there that I would be willing to try on a 1-year cheap deal with a bit of a redemption arc on a guy that we know can at least play some games, I'm going to get some, maybe some bad feedback on this one, but Martin Jones, I think, could maybe be decent. He's not been that good, but if we just want to play him in a backup role, kind of a redemption arc, because I just don't know how many offers he's going to have out there, unless there's a team like Arizona, although they're looking to compete, or Anaheim again, just a team that's looking to tank out, like Chicago, wants to play a guy that isn't going to be abysmal, but is not going to carry them through a season to a higher draft pick than they probably want. Could be Martin Jones. But he would be able to help with the workload here with Vitek. We know he can play a lot of games. He would be cheap. I think he could stopgap for Dawes. And it might be a decent option. So I want to know what you all think. I know Hellebuck is the popular name with the Boston goalies. I have no interest really in the likes of Murray or Gibson. And really the goalie market out there has slimmed up. But we know Tom wants to do something here, especially given what Utica's goalie situation looks like and what Schmidt could do down there, at least to start the season and finish it up here. But we'll see where it takes us today. I do think we'll see some moves. Maybe we get that winger. Maybe this big goalie trade comes through. But we'll see. I will update you all tomorrow morning on where we're at, and I hope you all have a great day.